Today I am at All Saints Aston on Trent, which is about 5 miles south of Derby, and I'm with my dad Tony, who is an avid church historian. So why have we come to this corner of the church?
Well, we're looking at the oldest bit of the church here. Look, first of all, this bit here, which seems to be the shaft of a preaching cross,
Okay.
an early Anglo-Saxon, late Celtic preaching cross. It's the sort of thing that you find quite commonly in the north of England, because the monks came down from Lindisfarne in Northumberland and formed the community in Repton, which is about 10 miles upstream from here. And from that area, Repton was what we call the Minster Church, which is like the mother church of the area. And they would send out monks out into the surrounding areas to conduct services, evangelise and so on. And so they would have had a preaching cross somewhere in the churchyard here.
Okay.
And that's the shaft that remains of it. Somebody, at a later
Wow.
date, it got built into the wall of the church. And somebody very thoughtfully put a little tile over the top just to keep the rain off it.
And what's this bit here?
Well, this is what would seem to be the corner of an Anglo-Saxon building, because it's quite typical in Anglo-Saxon buildings on the corners and round doorways and things like that of what they call long and short stonework. So you see there's a long stone that way, then a short one, and then a long one going that way. And that was quite a common feature of Anglo-Saxon masonry, which you didn't find from the Norman period onwards. So it would seem to suggest that that's the corner of the Anglo-Saxon building, the only bit of the Anglo-Saxon building that we can recognise.
Oh, wow. What else is interesting about the outside of the church?
Well, what we're looking at there is the tower, which is a Norman tower, typically Norman tower. You can see the Norman Romanesque windows there. And that would have been built about 1120. Okay. And was quite a statement of the Normans are here, such a big, imposing tower. Okay. But you can see, actually, if you look above where the clock is, obviously the clock's much later, needless to say, you can just see how the stonework changes. Because obviously the Norman tower was much shorter, well, not quite so tall. And then in the 14th century, they put the extra bit on the top with the windows for the bells, for the bell chamber. So, but that was added to a later date. The Norman tower would have been considerably shorter.
Oh, I never knew that. Right, shall we head into the church?
You lead the way.
Yeah. Right, so tell me some interesting things about the inside of the church.
Well, we're standing almost under the tower here, aren't we?
Yeah.
And you can see the round Norman archway that was at the base of the tower. And I'm guessing in the original building in the Norman times that those arches would carry on elsewhere in the building, and may well be the foundations of the present arch, the present colonnade, probably goes back to Norman times. Okay. So that's all what we've got left of the church in 1120. Okay. The font dates from around the same sort of period. Okay, so we're talking a font here that's about 900 years old. The interesting feature about this font is that it's got a little slit cut in the side. Can you see?
Yeah.
So it was quite common in the Middle Ages to leave the water in the font there all year round after it had been blessed. And people could come, there would be a lid on it to stop bits dropping in, back dropping, spiders, whatever. But people could put their hand in and into the water and make the sign of the cross when they came in and out of church.
Right, so tell me about the pillars.
Well, these pillars are what we call early English. The base of them was probably dates from the Norman period, but they were certainly put on. So we got an early English, the beginnings of the pointed arches. Okay, but very very plain, very simple, dating about 1200 or so, and that shows how the church sort of was extended at that period to the sort of size that it is today. Central nave and then two side aisles. Though the side aisles wouldn't have been quite as big as they are now because they were extended later. Okay. Now, if you look up at the above the Norman arch there on the tower, right up in the corner, don't you see? You see where the light is.
Yes.
The light's not ancient, by the way, needless to say. You can see a line, a diagonal line going upwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the line of the original pitch of the roof in that period. Okay, it wasn't raised to the present level until the early 15th century. Okay.
So why have we come to this side aisle? It seems a lot bigger than the other side.
It is a lot bigger, you're right. And that was very much the fashion in the 14th century. Right. You got the growth of the middle classes. So a lot of the lords of the manor locally had more money than they had previously. And so it was quite a fashion to extend the side aisles of the churches and raise the roofs as well, particularly the side aisles, to accommodate a side chapel, sometimes referred to as a chantry chapel. Because what it is, the people who died would pay for a priest to say masses for them after they died. Okay, that was really, really important. And clearly it was important to a guy called Thomas Tickhill.
So, who is Thomas Tickhill?
Well, this is Thomas Tickhill, or his monument anyway, in rather a shoddy state, unfortunately. But Thomas Tickhill was the lord of the manor here in the early 15th century, in the early 1400s. And he was a lawyer, because he's got a lawyer's cap on and a lawyer's robe. He was actually he was a lawyer in the King's Bench in London, as well as being lord of the manor here in Aston-on-Trent. Unfortunately, his monument is made of alabaster, locally made alabaster, Chellaston alabaster. The eagles on the side are the sort of trademark of the local alabaster workshops. Okay, but unfortunately, so this is Thomas Tickhill, and this is his wife. We don't know what his wife was called, but clearly they're holding hands, which is rather sweet.
So, shall we have a look at the stained glass windows?
Okay, yeah, let's go into the chancel.
So, why have we come to the chancel?
Well, we come to the chancel because it's just to see what it's like. It feels really light and airy, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
They put this what called a clear story in the top there to raise the roof and let more light in, as they did in the nave as well.
Yeah.
But also at the beginning of the 16th century, the early Tudor period, they put these beautiful perpendicular windows in as well. Obviously, the glass is much later because all the medieval glass got smashed at the time of the Commonwealth. But that's a perpendicular window. You see the arch is rounded rather than pointed, and then these lovely, glorious windows that let in the sunlight down on the south side. Okay, so Charlotte, what's unusual about that door lock on this old medieval door?
It's upside down.
It's upside down. Why would that be, do you think?
I've got no idea.
Ah, you see, in the late Middle Ages and early Tudor period, they were incredibly superstitious about things, and it was believed that if they installed the lock upside down, that was enough to fool the devil. He wasn't very intelligent, so it would keep him out of the church. So it's quite often in old medieval doors that you find the lock put in upside down, which is really awkward because you have to put the key in upside down and then turn it the opposite way than you'd imagine. The south door is just the same.
Ah.
And then we've got these crisscross patterns, can you see?
Yeah, what are those?
Well, they're called apotropaic markings, which is very difficult to say.
Yeah.
Apotropaic markings. Can you say that?
Apotropaic markings.
Well done. Yeah, apotropaic markings, which are basically markings to ward off evil spirits. I'm not quite sure why they believe that they warded off evil spirits, but it's quite common. All over churches and ancient buildings, find these little scratches scratched in the stone, which were supposed to keep the evil spirits away.
Right, so that's it.
That's it. We shall go home, shall we?
Yeah.
Have a cup of tea.
So thanks for showing me around the church.
It's a pleasure.
Filming. And if you like this video, make sure to give it a like and give me a follow. And let me know if you want any more videos like this.